Hello, eRank. Welcome back to another
Hello.
Thursday live Q&A with everyone's favorite, Brian, and you're stuck with me again.
Even my shirt's amazing.
Oh, that's a cool shirt. Happy 4th of July if we've got anyone visiting us from America. And
I saw the movie. They're going to have a great time today.
That's truth.
Will Smith is going to come in. He's going to save it. It's going to be great.
Sounds good to me. Yep. And yeah, for anyone in the UK, happy 4th of July, maybe. Who knows?
Yes, we don't have having a pleasant day either here in Canada.
You can have a nice day
Canada
too.
Day 4 days ago.
Oh, well, happy Canada Day then. I've lost track of all types of what all days are everywhere. Because I was going to do a 4th of July thumbnail for us, and then I completely forgot. So,
as long as people are joining us from America, happy 4th of July. Firework, firework, firework.
I don't have a firework button. I should have I totally should have a firework button. That would be so cool. But yeah, well, let us know where you're coming from, guys. And of course, if you have any questions, because mainly we're supposed to be here for questions. And we do have some from the Facebook group, which we'll get to in a minute. So thank you very much. For anyone who's not a member of the Facebook group, there should be a link to join in the comments below. And every Wednesday, I put up a post where you can join in and ask your questions early if you want priority answers or just to get in before everybody else, hopefully. Yeah. Oh, we've got, a few people coming from America, London, Toronto, Florida. I'm going to say Maryland.
Maryland.
Oh, yep. And Jennifer loves the shirt. Brian.
I'm thinking of doing some print-on-demand stuff. So I was like, okay, I should order some stuff just to see the material. And this is like the cheap one. I think it's a Gildan. Yeah, I think it's a Gildan 3001 or something like that. It's very thin. It's very stretchy. Do not recommend.
Yeah, well, it's good to check. I did the same. Not print on demand through Etsy, but you can sell stuff through YouTube.
Yeah.
And I got some t-shirts and they were awful.
There's some that are just like really, really low quality, and the price reflects it, of course. The cheapest ones are going to be the worst quality, but I wanted to see how bad they were because I've never even really ordered print-on-demand stuff, so I just wanted to see, and not great.
I got some mugs. The mugs were really good. I still use
the embroidered hats from Printify. The embroidered hats are phenomenal. But the t-shirts, now that I got this last month, like at the end of the month. And so every month you get like 3 items that you can order at a discount, like samples. And so we're now into the new month. So I got to order more samples and try and find the quality that I like. Yeah. The Bella Canvas 3001. Really thin. Really.
Yeah, for anyone that's doing print on demand, though, it is important to check out the quality of the things and also the quality of the print, because
the print quality itself is great on this one. The print quality itself is amazing. It's just the shirt. This is not a shirt that I would wear. It just feels so thin. But I mean, it's a really hot day today. It's 33 outside today, and in Fahrenheit, that's 92. So it's hot.
We're about 13, so I don't know what that is in other units, but we're 13.
It's probably about
so I've got
60, 62.
Yeah. See, there's some people saying they love their Bella Canvas and other people don't like it. So it's really important for you.
Down to preference.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I think I'd got some little vest tops and I had the opposite problem is they just felt too solid. Like even after you wash them 100 times, it's like that just feels like I'm wearing starch. So it's preference, like you say.
Yep. All right, what
Right.
questions do we have on the Facebook? I didn't pull it up.
Yep, I've got it. Don't
Okay,
you
good.
worry. So we've got Jessica, first of all, who you'll have seen a couple of weeks ago. But Jessica's asking, most of my items have only one material, acrylic yarn. Yet when I look at the listing audit, I get a flag with a message. Consider adding additional keywords for the materials used in your listing. You can add up to 13 materials keywords. They can help your items appear in relevant searches on Google and other search engines. What else should I put in there, if anything, to remove this flag? Does having only one material negatively affect my ranking?
On
So
Etsy itself, Etsy does not use that field for anything. They might use it as a search filter, but they don't even do that. They talked about adding it as a search filter. It's currently not. So at the moment, it does nothing for you on Etsy. It doesn't impact your rank whatsoever. It's actual search engines like Google, Bing, whatever else is out there. On those, it'll make an impact, because if someone searches for acrylic yarn, your listing will rank higher because it's there. But that doesn't help you on Etsy itself. So that's why it's good to fill in those materials because of regular search engines, but it's mostly to help customers while they're shopping.
yeah. Couple of things though I have seen in the past couple of weeks. I think it's just with jewelry searches. You'll see under it, it now says materials available if someone's filled in the materials section. So Etsy is doing something there. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it's just flagging. Like if people see 3 or 4 rings and they're like, is it silver? You know, I know what the title says, but there's materials to go and look at. So I would use it if it helps your customers. Very, very few of your listings, unless you're very niche, but very few listings are actually by themselves going to rank on Google. So I wouldn't worry too much. And Google sees everything in your listing and other search engines and hate keyword stuffing. So
Yes.
don't use your materials to keyword stuff. Use your materials to tell what your items are. So if your item is entirely only acrylic yarn, that's your material. There's not really a whole lot else you can add. I've really got to check on mine because materials is a thing that's been there since right at the start, and Etsy's never really done anything with it. This is the only time that I've seen this little materials available at the bottom of the
Yeah, that's
listing on
new.
Etsy. Yeah. So I've always sort of filled it in to explain to my customers what's in my item, and actually, because it felt funny like 15 years ago, one of my materials is love. So
I was about to ask you, what's your opinion on that, for people to put like not necessarily funny, but like funny.
yeah,
What's your opinion on that?
I don't think it matters either way. As we say, I don't think Etsy's particularly looking at it. So yeah, if it might help your customer, add it. If it might make your customer smile, maybe add it. It's certainly never hurt me as far as I know, but I am thinking about it now. I'm a grown-up lady and should not be just adding things to be cute and funny. But
I have newt and
yeah.
tow a frog.
I think you should absolutely add that to them.
I was just thinking of adding that too. I'm just like, maybe I should be adding something funny in there instead of just specifically what the item is.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought it was there almost for safety things, like if you're making food,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. I mean, the ingredients should be elsewhere as well, but it's good to have it there. Yeah, I think it's just to help the customer, but to be perfectly honest, I very rarely look at it. Some people have suggested, oh, use it to do some describing of your item because the descriptions don't show up and stuff, but it says materials, add materials. Like, don't, if you have a section that tells you to do something, do the thing the section tells you to do. I'll confess that material section was added to the listing audit because I asked for it for a very simple reason. It's not helping with SEO, But more often than you'd think, including myself, some people are going into the listing audit and saying, eRank says I've got no tags, but I've got tags. And you've accidentally added them in the materials section instead of the tags. So when we've got the materials there, then we can quickly check what silly thing we've done. So that was the reason I actually asked for the materials section to be added, just so I could see that. But it's handy to see. It's handy when you're snooping other people's listings, but don't spend any time on it.
It's literally just to describe your items for the customer, and that's it. If there are any restrictions, if you're selling to California, so you have to specify something, it's good to say it there. If something's fire safe or something along those lines, food safe, that's a great place to put that as well. So it's front and center, but it's not actually used for search ranking. So it's just for customer purposes, and that's it.
Absolutely. But great question, because that's a new thing that we just added fairly recently. Yep. Okay, so we have a question from Marta, just watching my new video on SEO. So yeah, I just put up a supercut of some details about SEO. I'm about to open my store. I sell one type of a product. It's not in huge demand, and people search for it mostly using one specific phrase that's the name of the product. Did I understand correctly that if my goal is to rank high for this one keyword, the best thing is to use that keyword as the title and not add anything else? And if that's my strategy, what do I do about tags? Right. So, yeah, I don't tell people exactly what to do with tags and titles and keywords, because there's so many different strategies that work. But I don't think that there's anything that there's only one keyword that's ever going to work for. There's always slightly different things. Hi, Mandy. I don't think, yes, most people might only be searching for one thing, but they're also searching for it for a certain type of person, or for a certain he's flashing his chest. So I wouldn't go for what it was in some of that video. I did mention you can rank slightly higher in search from my testing on my listings. You get a slight boost in search for having the exact match for the keyword that you're aiming for. However, if you only have that one keyword in your title, that really limits the other number of searches you can be seen for.
Exactly.
Yep. So it's a balance, and most of us are probably going to want to aim for a few keywords at least. Etsy does recommend, or has in the past said, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 superstar keywords in your title. Some people do great filling in the entirety of the space of their title. Some people do great with short titles. So experiment, and if you have more than one listing, you can experiment with more than one types of ways of doing it.
If you're running ads on the listing, that is one of the strategies that people use to target their advertising, because you don't have that option in Etsy anymore. And so if you limit the amount of keywords that are available for that listing, it will only be shown for those keywords instead of all of your keywords, and potentially wasting your budget. So that's one method of doing that. But for just a regular listing, that exact match is great, but you want to be able to match for other things as well. And if you only have those words, you will only be found for those terms. And so that's why it's always good to have all 13 tags, and potentially not single word tags. Have as many words as you can, so that you can be found for other things as well. If you only want to be found for that one thing, then yeah, I mean, you can just put that one thing there and that's it. But it doesn't really help that listing get out there, because a listing doesn't only gain rank if it sells for that search term. It gains rank if it sells for at all. So even if people are coming from outside of Etsy where no search term was used, that listing will gain rank for all search terms. It'll just gain a little tiny bit of rank. And if it gets a sale from that search term, it gets a huge boost. But all those little boosts add up as well. So it's nice to be found for other things as well, even if you're not going to rank really high for them.
Absolutely. I mean, the number one most important thing is things that people want to buy. So when they buy it, that's a good metric to eat. See, um, I don't think I've ever seen it, but you could have a listing that just had one word as the title. You could have a listing that had completely irrelevant random words as a title. But if whenever people saw it, it sold loads, then Etsy would go, don't care what they say, that's a great listing. I'm going to show that to people. So SEO is a part in the puzzle, but the most important part is that people buy your stuff when you see it. SEO helps
Exactly.
you get seen. I don't think I would ever recommend just one keyword, especially not for like across the board for all your listings. Experiment with it if you've got a good reason for it. Like I've been trying to do that with ads, like you say, Brian, and yeah, one or two listings, shorter titles, see what happens. One or two listings, longer titles.
Exactly. It's all about testing and seeing what happens and what works, because what works for my listings might not work for your listings. It's all a matter of trial and error and seeing what Etsy knows about your shop and how your particular target audience shops. And there's so many different variables that it's just best to test, and that's really all you can do.
Absolutely. That's such a good point, actually, because so many people, and it's advice you're given that's not bad advice to look for your competitors and things, but we so often hear and people will go like, this shop's done that, and I've tried to do that, and it's not working for me. We're all our own little science experiment, and things work for different reasons. There's some top selling shops that you would look at and go, they have the world's worst photographs. They're good enough,
I
the
can't
customers
remember
like
the
them.
name of the shop off the top of my head, but I found a shop that they had 15 listings, and all the listings only had two single word titles. So the titles were just two words each. There were no tags. The descriptions were decent. The photos were decent, but the SEO of it was horrible. But they also had 10,000 sales in the past 4 years. And the main reason for that is those words worked, or their social media
Exactly.
worked, or whatever else worked, but that's all they needed. But if I was to do that, I would need to find the words that people are searching for that exact specific item and hope that I end up ranking for that. So there is a risk in not using all of the SEO fields that you have available to you. Um, but you can also do really well even if you don't follow the guidelines. The guidelines are just guidelines. They're not, you have to do this and you will do well, because that's just not how retail works in general. Otherwise,
Yeah, I think
every retail store in the world would all be doing amazing because they would all follow that exact same pattern.
exactly. I think, and I'm sure we've all been there, especially when things are quiet. You're hoping that there's one little SEO thing that you're missing. You're maybe not adding an extra word that you should, or putting something in a description, or pressing a certain button, and suddenly your shop will switch on. I've wished that was the case so many times. I know better, but I still think sometimes you sit there with YouTube videos and you think, oh, maybe I should put this keyword into something else. You're like, no, Pam, you know that's not how SEO works.
Yeah.
For Etsy, for videos, for everything, the biggest way you're going to start getting sales is making things that people want to buy, and making things that people want to buy more than the other things they can get shown. And because that's based on what shoppers like, it's really difficult to figure out what the best thing is. Like that shop with 10,000 sales, Brian could use the exact same keywords and have better photographs and everything, but he won't be able to come in now and compete with that shop because that shop's got 10,000 sales.
Etsy
You know,
already
that
knows
that makes a
exactly
difference.
who to target those items to.
Exactly. He, like 4 years ago, that person might have come in and found the exact keyword that nobody else was using, or had the social media, did the thing that got the ball rolling. It's it's a puzzle, and each of us have to come in and do our own tests and be our own experiment.
And things are constantly changing too. The way that buyers search, the way what things people are looking for, that's constantly changing too. So even if you had the best keywords a year ago, that doesn't mean that they'll still work for you today. That's the O part of SEO, is constantly optimizing to the way people are currently searching and what people are currently searching for.
Yeah. Oh, you can't sit on your laurels. You've probably heard this a million times in the forums and stuff. Someone will stand there and go, "Oh, I'm a
I
top
didn't
selling
change
shop,"
anything.
and yeah. It's like, well, you should be changing things. When my stuff's doing great, that's the time when I sit down and go, what's the new range? What's the new thing I should be thinking of right now? Because that's maybe going to take a wee while to build up. And hopefully by the time that builds up and gets good, the stuff that's selling right now is going to have died. It's a constant changing thing.
Yep.
And that's the fun and the frustration of it all. No denying.
I mean, that's the fun and frustration of just sales in general, not just Etsy, but everywhere. That it's always constantly growing, constantly adapting, constantly changing to really target your audience and what your audience is currently into.
That's true. Like bricks and mortar stores, they can't keep doing the same thing. If you go into a place you went into 3 years ago, if it's still doing the exact same thing, you'll probably walk out and not buy anything because everything changes and it changes quite quickly.
Yep. I mean, look at the state of malls. Malls are shutting down. Stores that have been around for 100 years, like Sears and stuff like that, are all shutting down because they didn't change quick enough to match what everyone else is doing.
I know I never thought I would see the end of malls. Like I'm the age of mall rats and things. We did for a hobby, for a social thing, we went out and hung around in malls.
And just sat in the mall, just sat on the benches in the mall and just did nothing for hours. Yep.
Yeah, and now people don't do that, and the malls are dying. So yeah, stuff changes.
And you have to change with it.
Yeah, I think we had one final question on Facebook. Yeah. So get your questions in on YouTube and we'll be getting to them. This is from Debbie. How much do you think cancellations or refunds impact your shop score and the algorithm for that item? Mine are normally very low, but on Wednesday I had to cancel 3 orders within 2 hours. She's selling 1,000 to 1,200 items a month. Fantastic. So this is a low rate and hopes it doesn't impact. And is there any difference between a refund versus a cancel?
So firstly, right off the bat, okay, no, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, so just to hit the refund and cancel quickly right off the bat, because that's the quick and easy one, is a refund is just giving someone's money back, but the order still exists. The order's still open. You could also send a partial refund. If you're just refunding shipping or just giving a discount, taking 10% off, you can refund that 10%. Cancel means you're completely wiping the order from existence. You're getting all your fees back. The customer's getting all of their money back as if that transaction never happened. So that's the difference. An order that's been refunded, the review window stays open for that entire 100 days after Etsy's estimated delivery date. A canceled order, after they have 48 hours to leave a review during that eligibility window, which is after Etsy's estimated delivery date and up to 100 days after. So those are the two big differences, is reviews can be left and one of them makes the order not exist, essentially. When it comes to whether canceling or refunding impacts your shop at all, it does not. That's actually what Etsy sees as good customer service, is if a customer wants to cancel an order or whatever their situation currently is, and you're refunding it, that's perfectly fine. Same with refunds, where you could be giving a discount. You could be, there's so many reasons to give a refund that they wouldn't punish someone for giving a refund. So there's no negative impact whatsoever on your shop for doing either.
Absolutely. But some people do this. If a customer has any kind of query, they're like, I'm canceling it so they can't leave a review. They can leave a review, but also do good customer service. Not all customers are a monster or whatever else. Usually you can talk them around with just some nice customer service. Cancellations and refunds are for when it's the right to do that. But yes, Etsy won't punish you for something like that. The only thing, it's not so much a punishment, but it's not going to be a strategy to sort of build up your listing quality score by getting someone to buy and constantly refund, like cancel or something. You won't get a listing quality score for it, but you won't get penalized for it.
Exactly.
Just checking, because I know some people, I know I used to be this person with SEO looking for all the loopholes to be like, oh, what can I do to build up my score? This was many years ago on Google. I've not done it on Etsy, but I always be like, just make sure you don't try and do the thing to game the system.
Anything that games the system will end up hurting you in the end. That's just how that works. There was someone on Reddit the other day that was saying that they linked their shop with Square, and just to increase their number of sales. So they weren't making legitimate sales. They were just basically making fake sales to pay the 20 cents listing fee, and that's all they had to pay, and they would get a sale. So they instantly had like 1,000 sales. That does not actually help your shop whatsoever. It might look like you have more sales, but it doesn't help your shop get found more. It doesn't rank your shop higher. It doesn't do anything. That's just a game that people can play that wastes money, wastes time, and does nothing for you. Anything that sounds like it's gaming the system, like a follow for follow or anything like that, doesn't actually work and doesn't actually help.
Yeah, that's SEO has always been like a kind of arms race with people thinking of ways around the system and then the system finding ways to block them. And for whatever we say with Etsy, they are smarter than we are. They'll figure out fairly quickly what we're doing. So yeah, it's best to the simple thing is make stuff that people want to buy. That's the way to game the system. Make really awesome things that people want to buy.
Exactly. We as shop owners make tens or hundreds or thousands of dollars a month. Etsy makes $1 billion a month, or they have $1 billion coming in through their system a month, and they have a whole tech department. We don't have a tech department, so they definitely have smarter minds working on all these things. So any loophole that could be found will be closed rather quickly, and you might get penalized for doing something like that because you are violating the terms of service. So always be careful when you're doing something that is shady-ish.
Shady-ish, is that the technical term? Yeah. I just see if I can figure out what buttons to press. Jennifer saying she had an issue with eRank yesterday, contacted support, must say eRank support is exceptional. If the support person can't help you, they'll do all they can to fix the issue. So I just wanted to shout out our support team. They are
the support team's amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And there's someone 24 hours a day working as well. We have, I don't know wherever. I know we have someone in Australia. We have someone in the US. I'm pretty sure we have someone in the UK, maybe. I think we might have someone in Singapore or the Philippines or something too. We have people all over the world to help with support and to help with any issues that people have.
Yeah, they are great, and everyone does want to help. So don't be afraid. Not just if you have any issues, if you have any feedback. We love hearing the feedback, and we are listening to the feedback. And also, if there's anything
positive feedback too, message them and say, "Hey, you guys are so helpful."
Yeah, exactly. Tell them that. But yeah, positive feedback with the tools as well. And also, if you're working on anything in eRank and you think, oh, I wish I did this, let us know, because 90% of the tools have been built from either us idiots sitting here who don't have a clue how to do it technically, just going, Anthony, can we do this? Or you guys like messaging, talking to us and saying, I would love it if eRank could do this. So yeah, just don't be afraid. That little button in the bottom right corner of eRank, contact the support team, let them know anything that's wrong, anything that's right, anything you'd like to see differently.
Exactly. Everyone uses the tool very differently. Me and Pam use the tool very differently. Me and you guys out there in the real world, you guys all use the tool differently than we do. And so So letting us know exactly how you use it, exactly what you would want to see if there's anything missing, or if something's working amazing, let us know that too, so that Anthony's not like, no one's using that tool, I'm going to get rid of it. So just you got to let us know. That way we know how to help you in your workflow, because our workflow is going to be different than yours. Everyone's workflow is going to be different.
Absolutely. Yep. Oh, chat just jumped. There we go. Jennifer's also saying using the extension, I assume you mean our sidekick. Using the extension on Chrome, does it work on any other platforms? I use Safari.
I don't think it works on Safari. It works on any Chromium browser, so that would be Brave browser. For some reason, Edge, like Microsoft Edge. I don't think it works on Safari. I don't think it works on Opera. It doesn't work on Firefox. It works on anything that's Chromium based. So it might work, but it might not.
Yeah, we can't guarantee it just now.
But it's absolutely amazing. I'm using it every day, and it's something we've been pushing it. This is one of those tools that came from everybody pushing for it. Is we were pushing for it for a very long time, and they were able to develop something because just having that sidekick on the screen while you're doing your keyword research, while you're looking up other people's listings, instead of having to keep jumping back to eRank, it just makes it so much more useful. Also, doing keyword research, it's great because Etsy, for most platforms, Etsy removed the number of search results. So when you do a search on Etsy, it says 1,000+ results. That doesn't actually help if you want to see the competition numbers. The sidekick actually helps break that, so we can see the full amount of competition. So that's one of the great uses for it, is getting those competition numbers while just looking to see what other listings are out there.
Absolutely. And I might have a little secret. Don't know. Yeah, it's a secret for anyone who hasn't seen or used the sidekick or wants to know more about it. In the coming week, we might be dropping, I think it's going to be 3 videos on the sidekick. This is the cool thing, because so many people use everything so differently. So there should be some videos dropping on what's amazing about the sidekick, how to use the sidekick, and a tour of what's there with the sidekick. So keep an eye out for them. They should be up soon. Pam says panicking, realizing she's got to record tonight, but
which is great, because a lot of people use it differently or just don't realize that it can do something. That's the same with a lot of the tools on eRank, like how most of the tools now have a columns button in eRank where you can change the columns that are being shown. So if there's certain columns that just don't help you at all and they're just taking up space on the screen, click that columns button in the top right corner of whatever chart you're on, and you could actually remove some of those columns to make the screen show exactly the information that you need at the time that you need it.
Absolutely. And back to Sidekick, actually, because we've just added something reasonably recently. With Sidekick, if you haven't used it in a while, you can now add your keywords to keyword lists right there on Sidekick, which speeds everything up. This is what's slowed down Sidekick being launched so much, is it was ready to go, and Anthony showed myself and Starla it, and we're like, that's great, but it needs to do this, and it needs to do this. And I think everybody else that saw it was like, make it do this, make it do that. So he had to keep going back. I was
beta testing it since like October of last year, and when did it release? In February, I think, is when it finally released, because we just it was working, it was functional, it did everything it needed to do. But can it do this? And can it do this? And can it do this? Yeah, it'd be great if it did this. And yeah, we didn't let them stop. They developed we put the developers through a lot for that. But it turned out amazing.
And there's more coming.
Yep.
And from feedback from you guys, and also some of the wish list that we've been throwing at them for months now. Okay, we have Bloomer. Listing audits. I can get an A on a listing and still have a visibility score of 9%. How can I get my listings seen? Firstly, good timing. On Tuesday, I think it is, I will be doing a webinar on eRank on the listing audit tool. I don't have a link for that just now. If anyone in chat has a link for that, could you pop it up, please? I didn't think, I forgot about it. So we'll show, so I'll be taking you step by step how I use the listing audit tool. But a very quick breakdown is your list. Think of your listing audit tool. See if somebody made a resume, a CV audit tool. It would just be telling you you've filled in your details all in the correct places, you're following the best practices. It wouldn't tell you if you've applied for the correct job. And that's sort of how I see the listing audit tool. We've got all the best practices from Etsy saying, do a title like this, have no single word tags, don't have spelling mistakes, use these pictures. So that's all the listing audit is doing. And it's a great tool to help you. Have I done something dumb when I was making my listing? Have I made some really simple mistakes? What it's not doing is saying you have optimized, you've picked a really good keyword, or your listings are awesome. It can't say that. So your visibility score is your average daily views that your listing is getting compared to other listings. If you've got a low visibility score, that's just saying that people aren't clicking on your listing. They're not clicking on your listing because either it's not being seen in search, or when it is being seen in search, people aren't clicking on it. So you've got to check those keywords. See, are people searching for the keywords that you've optimized your listing for? Is the competition too high that maybe you're not showing up in search for it? Does your listing stand out compared to everything else? So yeah, it's an awesome tool, but getting an A doesn't mean you're going to get tons of sales.
It's just like a giant checklist that, and the A is, yep, you filled in all the fields that you were supposed to, not necessarily the quality of the fields, but you just filled them in. So if you just put the letter A across everything, you would actually get an A on your listing, but you wouldn't actually get found whatsoever. Versus the visibility score is how you're found in search when someone's clicking on it. If you have a low visibility score, one thing to use is the search analytics function in Etsy under marketing, just to see if your listing's actually showing up for any of those terms and just not getting clicks. Because before you go changing anything, you to make it potentially more visible, you want to make sure that you're not going to change the wrong things. So your listing might be doing amazing and coming up in at the very beginning of search results, but still not getting clicks. And so the search analytics tool will help you understand that and kind of help guide how to get more of those clicks, find the terms that are getting the clicks, and then you can kind of focus more in that direction.
Absolutely. I love that you're like the only other person that uses the search analytics tool. I love it.
I love it. And I want to do a video on it. It's just so difficult to do a video without showing all of your own data.
I have no problem showing all of my own data. Yeah, it's so as Brian said there, in your Etsy dashboard under marketing, you'll see search analytics. It still says beta. It's been in beta for like 5 years.
Yeah, they dropped it originally in 2019 or 2020, and it's been in beta ever since.
Yeah, but what it's got, it is so cool because it shows you the search term. It shows you something that we haven't been able to see anywhere else, which is impressions. And impressions mean your listing was shown to people in the search. So people searched for that and Etsy showed your listing. And then you've got the clicks, the click-through rate, was it views per impression, they call it, which is basically for the number of times Etsy's shown your listing, how often has someone clicked on it? And that number is so important because what Etsy's kind of looking at here is it worth my time? Like I have a listing and Brian has a listing, and Etsy shows both our listings to a ton of people. If 20% more people click on Brian's listing than they click on my listing, then Etsy's going to say, it's worth my time showing Brian's listing more than Pam's. So if you can you look at those click-through rates, and if you're not getting clicked on when you're seen in search, if that click-through rate's really low, then you're saying, well, Etsy tried. Etsy really tried to show my item to people, but the people didn't like it when they saw it. So yeah, it's a super cool tool.
And on the main screen, you'll see the overall. But then when you click on the listings number in the very last column, it will now break that search term down per listing as well. And you'll see all the stats for how well that listing specifically does in search, what position that listing shows up in, the amount of impressions for that specific listing. And it's an absolute treasure trove of data. And that's probably why it's still in beta, because otherwise they'd have to share it through the API.
True, yeah. And I think it still hasn't got some of the mobile data in it. So it doesn't
I
have
think they added
all of it.
iOS, but they don't have Android yet. And it's still extremely slow. If you set it to 90 days or something, you can wait 4 or 5 minutes for the page to actually load. It is slow, and that's probably the real reason that it's still in beta is they need to optimize it and make it work properly. But it's a
There's
great,
so much
amazing
data.
tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always going to be slow because at the end of the day, the way the Etsy algorithm works and is going to be working more and more is it looks at the data you give it, but then it's looking and going, oh, you've said dress. Could that also be good for sweater or frock or hat? And it experiments with this. So under this tool, you're going to see every single keyword that it's maybe experimented with once, gave you an impression, and nobody clicked on it. And so Etsy's gone, yeah, we tried that. That was irrelevant. So if you have a shop like Brian's that's absolutely huge, there's a ridiculous amount of data. So just pulling all that down is going to take it a very long time.
That's true. Sometimes I love to do the flip on the impression. So instead of seeing the listings with the search terms with the most impressions, see the ones that just had one impression. And it's amazing what some people type, but they're still able to find your listing. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. People like Etsy buyers, check what you're typing into the search bar. It makes no sense sometimes. We have Nessie Creations. Speaking of the sidekick, why when I'm logged into eRank and then go to use the sidekick, I have to log in again? That sounds like a bug. Let our customer service team know, and they can look into that for you.
It seems like something with your browser's not sharing the cookie, the login credential between the website and the sidekick. So just send feedback and let them know that's happening, because it's not going to happen for everyone. I never had that issue, but that type of thing, potentially there's a security setting in your browser that's saying, nope, you have to be on erank.com for your login to be valid and stuff like that. So it could be something as little as that, but they'll know a lot more than we would.
Yeah. I do see it sometimes, which is probably due to the fact I've got 80 tabs open at any given time, and I keep getting told off for that. So yeah, that's probably me. But yeah, let the team know.
Told off by who? Who else is seeing your browser that they're so upset about your 80 tabs?
Every time I share the screen, anytime Anthony's seen my screen, absolutely, like being a computer person, absolutely has a go. It's like, why is my computer going so slow?
So it's not you yelling at yourself.
I do that every now and again. It's like, Pam, close some of the. Every time someone sends me an article and I just put, I'll read that later, leave the tab open. How? It's like archaeology, like closing the tabs. It's like, oh yeah, I meant to read that 6 months ago. That's interesting. It can't just be me. Other people do. In fact, I know it's not me because a lot of browsers are now doing where they collapse tabs into like linked special things, and so it's not just me that does that.
And on Windows, they'll once a certain amount of RAM is being used, it'll actually put it into green mode, which means that it's now like limiting the amount that it can use, and it's a whole big technical thing that happens, but they know people do that, and they're trying to make systems not come to a fault because of it.
Yeah, that might be why my computer makes those horrible noises sometimes. Yeah. Got NH just got the Sidekick extension yesterday, hoping it'll be useful. I hope you'll love it. Like, we love it. It's absolutely usable as it is. There's tons you can do with it, but there's so much more we want to add to it.
I use it so often that sometimes I'm just browsing the internet and I'm like, why does this screen look different? And then I realize, oh, I left the Sidekick open. The Sidekick doesn't do anything when you're not logged into Etsy. It just still remains on the side. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. I still have the Sidekick open just because I'm so used to it being there now.
Yeah, it's so useful. Just really just so much quicker for everything. Like, you don't have to think, oh, I wonder what that's. I'll go to eRank. Which tool do I want to open? It's like everything's just there, the right thing beside your at the side of your browser.
Exactly.
We do like the
Debbie said, wait, how can we see impressions? That's with the search analytics tool under marketing. So that's only in your on the desktop version of Etsy. You go to marketing and search analytics beta, and you can actually see the impressions that each search term is getting.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's worth pulling that up just now. Why not? My shop's been like dead for ages. You're not going to see anything. You
Pull that up and I'll keep going here. Patricia asks, I just hooked up my Google Analytics to my eRank. Where do I find the stats on eRank? So that's under traffic stats, which I believe is under listing optimization. And that's where you'll start seeing all of the keywords that are used, and it'll show you the listings that are found and all that type of stuff.
Right, let's see if this works. So
benmcfuzzylugs.
Yeah, don't copy what I do, guys, because I don't do it right. But under marketing, search analytics beta, and here is data that you've got here. So the first, well, just like actually what we've got in eRank, you can change what columns you've got by adding things here. So I always add the visits per impression because that's the click-through rate. I love that metric. There is also, yeah, we'll leave it there just now. But the impressions are just this one here, is just showing, that's really cool, 199 times people were searching for my shop name, and people are actually searching for my own name. So that's when you know your marketing's doing good. Basically. So you've got impressions, and what I love, as I say, is this visits per impression. So not a surprise really when people search for your name or your shop name, see some of your listings in search, they're more likely to click on it. Whereas when it's something like a keyword like corgi, they're much less likely to click on it. So it's given you some ideas here, but there's so much you could do. I'm not sure if it will show up if I click on it. Sometimes pop-ups don't work.
Yeah, it worked.
You can see it, cool. So if you click on the number beside it, it's showing that I had 7 listings being shown for the word corgi, and we get to see more, how many impressions for each of them. So you can say, oh, that listing gets shown the most. It's probably been doing the best. Etsy thinks it's the best. So there's so much just
and
really
it shows you the matching value, whether it was the title, the tags, and which title or which part of the title or tag it used to do that match.
Yeah, this is like the super secret cool bit. It's showing, for example, for showing being corgi, it's seen I had a tag of Pembroke Welsh corgi, and it said, oh, that has corgi somewhere in the tag, so that must be that we're going to match because you've got corgi in the title and the tag. So yeah, it's a cool little sort of SEO bit there.
Yep.
But,
and one thing to notice there with that corgi, with that second one there, it was in position 600 and something. That means that someone searched for corgi and then scrolled to page 13. So it was position 617, and so somebody actually typed in corgi, and for it to show up on a search page, someone had to have gone to that search page. So for it to be in position 617 and get an impression, someone had to have gone there. So someone searched corgi, or 23 people searched corgi on average, and it came up on page 13 or 14, and somebody went through that many pages. So you don't only have to worry about being on page 1, because people are going further than that.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. That is the average position. So sometimes it'll be lower, sometimes higher, but it is saying Etsy's not showing my listing particularly high. So something that you can do with this
But on
kind
average,
of
people are going to page 14 to find it.
exactly. I can look and say, well, my one that's getting the most views, Etsy kind of likes it, but it's only in an average of a
5.
position 182, but it's only seeing it from my title. Would it be worth playing around with my tags there or not? Obviously, don't change things that are working, but very much if I have I got one. Yeah, well, thank you, Etsy, for demonstrating this. This is a cat bookmark that showed up for Corgi. There was no matching value, so it only got one impression on position 4,000. But nobody clicked on it, so Etsy went, yeah, that doesn't work. But I might look and go, if that was relevant for Corgi, hold on, I've got no matching values. It's not in my title and tags. I maybe really need to put that in my title and tags. As it stands, I can just look and go, Etsy tested that and realized they messed up. I've not said it's a Corgi, but that could be a case of they're saying, well, some of Pam's stuff does well for Corgi. This might be a Corgi. Oops, no, it's not a Corgi, basically.
That's that personalization and target audience thing that happens.
Yep. But anyone who's not using that tool, I absolutely love that tool.
So One of a Kind by Leslie says, I had a supplier go out of business and had to replace with a different supplier. Does this affect the data for sales when I do for existing listings? Not at all. Not at all. You would just change your the partner. For some reason, I can't remember the name of that.
Production partner.
Production partner. Thank you. You change the production partner, and that's it.
Yeah, it shouldn't affect. You're not changing any of the metadata really about your listing. You're not saying it's a different thing. I mean, if for some reason it was a picture and suddenly you're having to sell a cushion, that should make a difference because it's a different thing. But yeah, if it's just a different supplier for the same item, should be absolutely fine.
Yeah, the production partner is not a searchable field whatsoever, so that doesn't impact the listing whatsoever. Epic Poetic says, is the singular and pillar form of a keyword seen as the same keyword by Etsy?
That'll be plural.
Oh, plural. Sorry. I didn't even correct it while reading it. I'm like, what am I saying? Yes. Certain plurals, for the most part, plurals are seen as the exact same thing. You can actually test that by doing the search, and you'll see the results will be extremely similar. And they fix common spelling mistakes, like if you flip an EI kind of thing. So they will fix a lot of spelling mistakes, and they'll see those as the same thing. But with all the personalization, the way things are now, it doesn't even matter. Etsy will, like we just saw how a cat bookmark was showing up for a corgi, Etsy will find similar items, and if something is misspelled or it's pluralized and the plural isn't one of the ones that they understand, it might still show up just because it's the item itself is similar enough that it'll show it.
Exactly. And what I tend to do in a listing, find out in eRank, you'll see what people are exactly searching for. So see the one that searched for the most and use that, and you'll get shown in searches for both of them.
Exactly. Mandy says Brian has 80 open right now, guaranteed. The actual fact is I have 7 open, so that's not 80. That's a little bit less. Yet I have so many. Yeah, okay, so that's just one browser, and then I have so many browsers on so many different computers. All in total, it's probably more than 80.
Yeah. Thank you for telling on him, Mandy. That's brilliant.
She can't even see them, and she still just knows my habits.
We've got One of a Kind by Leslie on the visibility score. Some start off with a high and some start low. So how are clicks responsible for those scores when they're just listed? Yeah, the visibility score is your average daily views compared to other listings on Etsy. So the thing is, when you get a brand new listing, you get a little boost in search. It's likely to have a few more clicks. But the sad fact is that on average, listings all across Etsy are getting about 1 view per day. So if you have a listing that's just started out and is just 1 day old and has had 2 views, it's not a lot, but it'll still give you a really high visibility score. The actual first few days are not really that important to start with, because it's going to change that much. If 2 people click on it instead of 1, visibility will be huge. If no people click on it, when usually maybe 1 person has clicked on it, visibility will drop through the floor. We did actually test last week not showing the visibility score till the listing was 30 days old, because it really doesn't make sense to look at it when it's that young. However, we took the feedback. I was away, so I didn't have to. I didn't see any of this, but I saw it afterwards. We took the feedback and reinstated the visibility score. But yeah, at the very beginning, the difference of 1 or 2 views makes such a big difference to the visibility that it's barely useful at the very beginning. You know if your listing's getting a lot of views or not. The visibility score is so you can compare a listing that's 30 days old with a listing that's 2 years old. Basically, the daily views, the average daily views are comparable. It's apples with apples, rather than looking and saying, well, this one's got 40, this one's got 2,000 views. What does that mean? We're saying, well, no, actually, this one's getting more daily views than that one. So
also,
yeah,
the visibility score, the start date of that is actually from when you create the listing. So if you started a listing but didn't actually make it a live active listing, it was just in your drafts for a year, and then you made it active, it is actually going to come out with a very low visibility score because it's now been around for a year. So it's a year-old listing with no views. And so that's one of the other reasons that it can look like it has a very low visibility right off the bat.
Yep.
And yeah, Niece's creation says, I noticed the visibility score was showing as pending. Yeah. So if the listing was under 30 days, including those days where it was in draft, then it would show as pending.
Yep.
Debbie said, I doubt they went through all those pages. It's average. This is referring to the corgi thing where something was seen on page 617. It is the average, but that means that it could have been shown on page 1 or 2, but that means that it was also noticed on page 2000 to make it the average.
Yeah. And that one that just had 1 impression was way back at whatever number
something. So someone went through 100 pages and then saw that listing, and that's the average of 1 impression. So it was seen on page 100. Someone went through 100 pages to see your cat listing.
Yeah, so someone get a grip if you're going through hundreds of pages. Seriously, refine your search term. If you find yourself, I don't think I search past about 2 pages. If I've not seen it, I search for something different.
If it's something that, like, if it's something generally I'll go a few more pages. I'll go to page 10 sometimes. But if it's something very specific that I'm looking for, yeah, page 1 or 2, and it's like, okay, I searched the wrong thing. Let's add words to the end of it. And that's why in your stats, you'll sometimes see butterfly necklace, gold, gemstone. You'll see like weird words after it that almost look keyword stuff, but that's just because people are amending their search, and there it is. But then there's someone like Mandy who wants to see everything, and she will sit there and scroll through to page 200 just to try and find something, just to try and find the thing that she's looking for, because someone will have an exact item that she's looking for. Yeah.
Well, that's it. We're all different. Absolutely.
Love
I
it.
have no patience. It's funny actually when they talk about, like, they're talking about the TikTok generation, you know, all the cool kids have no attention span. The young kids are watching like really long videos. I'm the one that has no attention span.
If the video doesn't grab me in 3 seconds, that's it. I'm scrolling.
That's the rule. Absolutely. Yeah. Says me who just made an hour and a half video. But yeah.
And that is all of the questions.
Yeah.
So don't forget
guys,
to do what
thank
Mandy
you.
said, which is subscribe and give the video a like for Pam and Bryan. I'm Bryan. That's Pam.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like
Thank you
trying to
so much
bend my
for
hand
joining.
this way, and it's like that doesn't work so well.
I can. No, see, you're always on the wrong side. I'll have to figure out how to flip the camera properly. But yeah, give us a like, subscribe, come back. We are here some combination of us is here every Thursday. And there's also videos from myself, from Jess, from Patrick, loads of the team. There'll be more videos coming in this channel. Yeah, so
And if you
guys,
don't catch us live, just throw a question in the eRank Facebook group, and we're always there to answer all your questions about eRank, about Etsy, about life in general. We don't have the answer to life though, so
yeah,
we
you
can only
probably
answer
don't want
some
to
things.
follow our advice on that. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Bye.